Greetings everyone, welcome to Chess Advanced. Hey, this is a spectacular game for Fide Swiss 2025. With the white pieces, we have Stockfish Sarin, little brother of Nihal Sarin, who just plays spectacular chess. I mean, Nihal has been playing so much like Stockfish. He's finding the absolute correct moves and almost converting the games. Here with the black pieces, we have Nodirbek Abdusattorov. This is going to be a great matchup. If Nihal is able to win, he has a chance at going for the candidates tournament, and it's going to be a huge boost to his confidence. Let's see what happens here. Here just e4 by Nihal, c5. Now this comes knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop to b5. We go into the Neshmetino Rosolimo attack, and definitely this is going to be an insane fight. Here just e6 now, going for a very different line. Normal move, you play e5 here in this position. Castles, knight g2, e7, and rook to e1. a6 now pushing the bishop back. Bishop captures, knight captures, and just d4. C captures, knight captures, bishop to e7. And even if you go for, you don't want to capture in the center, because if you go for captures queen, it's just immediately targeting this. You cannot even play this. If you play this, queen captures, and you can say bye bye to, I mean, any candidate's hope that you had with the black pieces. But after knight caps on d4, we have bishop to e7. Obviously in the top level this one is not going to happen. Knight captures, d captures, and queen to g4. If you trade queens early on, I mean, there is no point in continuing with the game. You won't have that much chances, and again, you are eyeing that pawn. Queen to d4 now, very nicely defending. The trouble is you cannot even defend with the bishop. I mean, you cannot even castle in this position. The thing is, because if you castle bishop to h6, you cannot defend here, because e5 would be very nice, and queen is there, not here. So that's what you have to be careful about. That's why you have to defend like this. But now just comes knight to d2, castles, queen to g3, the best engine move. And you can just, I mean, see all the best engine moves he plays here. It's absolutely spectacular. And f6 is an inaccuracy in this position, and Nihal is definitely looking to take advantage of that. c3, queen to c5. And GM Robert Hess was there at the stream, and he said, c3 is gonna be a really tough move to find, but I think Nihal might just find it, because he has played so many bullet games, and now that he has like 47 minutes, I mean 47 bullet games basically. So you can see the thing here. But now the trouble for Nodirbek here in this position is the move that is going to be played right from move 14 is going to be very difficult to do anything again. Hal can actually push e5 in this position, and he finds it. This is the top engine move. And here the trouble is you cannot even go f captures in this position. If you go f captures, knight to e4, and now your position is so bad you cannot do anything. Queen to b6, bishop is jumping in next. I mean, your position is basically going to collapse. But after e5 we have bishop to d7. Now just comes this knight to b3 attacking the queen. Queen moves bishop to h6, and now the trouble is you have to defend with rook to f7, and he does it, but just in this position. Rook a to d1 hitting the bishop, and you have to go back with the queen. That's the only move in this position you have. But here Nodirbek goes for rook a d8, thinking that the position is absolutely fine, but it is not, because now there is a spectacular tactic in this position. Pause the video and try and find out the only winning move that Nihal can get right from the opening, and just crush Nodirbek right here, right now. Have at it. So congratulations to everyone who's able to find this move. The move is e captures on f6, because here you cannot capture with the rook, because queen captures would be checkmate. So here you have to capture with the bishop. But the trouble with capturing with the bishop is that now your queen does not have squares, and there is this thing that you have to understand, that once the bishop moves back, queen cannot go here, and now it's going to be very dangerous. Queen to b5 is the only square that you can go to, because every other square is taken. That's what you have to understand, and it's going to be very difficult not to do anything. But now just comes this very nice knight to c5. I'm hitting the bishop, queen can enter. You have to understand, you cannot even go for a pawn in this position. All of your pieces are going to be hit. Rook is not connected, and yes, this is a +3 advantage right from the opening just by move 20, and Nihal would be winning in spectacular fashion if he had found the correct order of moves. But unfortunately here, after rook a to d8, he first went bishop to e3, which is not the correct order of moves, because now queen to c7 can be played, and Nodirbek plays it. But here in this position he goes for bishop to c5, trying to go for it. Pawn captures was also fine, because you trade the queens and still you have some chances, but he likes the queen on the board. Bishop to c8, bishop captures, queen captures, rook captures, queen captures, and here just pawn captures. Rook captures here, but the trouble is you are better, but I mean, with all these pieces gone, your advantage really drops down. Queen to e3 was played, b6 now, but now just comes queen to d4 asking for a queen trade, and he refutes. Now he's saying that if I trade queens now with all the amazing pieces that you have, there might be some trouble. Most likely it would have been still a draw, but still. And even if you go for knight to d4 in this position, that feels like, you're hitting both the pawns, but just queen to c7, you have nothing. Knight to f3, rook to h6, trying to just threaten some mates here, but you can even defend it with this. And yeah, most likely this game would have ended in a draw. But after b6, queen to d4 now, but now just comes queen to c7, rook to d1, e5, queen to e3, bishop to f5, and both players are trying to do something in this position, because whoever wins will get 7 points, and they have a really good shot at going for the candidates. But here, rook to e1, c5 now. Now just comes knight to d2, queen to d7, knight to f1, and now just e4. So here Nodirbek is pressing, but unfortunately there is nothing to press for in this position. Knight to g3 was played, h6, h3, and just queen to f7. So maybe there could be some options of going and trying to just occupy this line, maybe have some chances, but white is the one who's better, and it's going to be very difficult. Why is white better if you're asking me? Then the thing is that you have 3 pawn islands here with black, and that's the problem. This pawn somewhere along the line is going to fall, and with you have 2 pawn islands, so you can actually push for a win in this position. So that's what Nihal is trying to do. b3, bishop to g6, rook to d1, rook to e6, and rook to d5 was played, but just queen to f6, knight to f1, king to h7, and yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, you are eyeing a lot of things, but the trouble is that the king is not that very weak as it's supposed to be, and you have traded all the pieces, so now you don't have that much advantage as you thought you would be, so you don't have any winning chances. But Nihal is still gonna try. Maybe Nodirbek makes some mistake. Queen to d2, a5 now, but now just comes knight to e3, queen to f4, and just a4. So he is starting to make a little bit progress. You can see the engine bar moving a little bit up. Rook to c6, but now just comes rook to d7. But he needs to, do a lot more than this. Bishop to bishop to e8, attacking the rook, rook to d8, bishop to f7, c4, h5, and now just going for queen to d1, queen to e5, rook to d7, and now just finally rook to f6. Queen to c2, bishop to e6 was played, attacking the rook, rook moves back, rook to g6, and you can just repeat here back and forth, and most likely that would be a draw as well. Rook to f6, rook to e1, king to g8, rook to d8 check was played, king to h7, rook to d2. But the trouble is that Nihal still being better, but cannot do anything here. Rook to g6 was played, king to e2, queen to f4, king to e1, queen to e5, rook to d1, and rook to f6 was played again, trying to just repeat the positions. But if you want to play for a win in this position, instead of the move that Nihal played, you can play king to f1, and after rook to g6 you play rook to d8. So you just cut the king off, and even if you go for a move like bishop to g8, now just comes queen to e2, and you might have some tension here, but after this you have to move the rook back, and most likely the queen will go back, and you're most likely not going to go back here in this position. Actually not queen to f6, but actually you have to pay the queen. She doesn't have anything in this, and here after rook to f6, rook to d2 was played by Nihal, and both players on move 53 agreed to a draw. But unfortunately here, with 6.5 points, with there are many players who are there are at least 5 players who are at 7 points out of 10, and now with the next round they have a chance, some of them going for 8, and the whoever player who's gonna have 7.5 or 8 will have some chances, but it's still very, very difficult to be able to do anything in this position. Nihal had some chances, he might have some chances as well, because Vincent's game actually ended in a draw, and now he have very tiny chances, but with those tiny chances maybe he can convert, and he can try to go for a win tomorrow. And maybe in the playoffs are not going to be there, but the rating, your opponent's rating accumulated is going to be there. So let's see if with that he has some chances tomorrow, but it's very, very unlikely. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll be coming back with such amazing games, so stay tuned to the channel, stay updated, and I'll be seeing you guys very, very soon. Thank you very, very much for watching.